a playlist original.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster. Filming on a very sunny Friday, at least here on the East Coast. A little unconventional day for us to record, but summer schedules are heating up. Things are busy, and there's still news to deliver. What's it like over there on the West Coast, Gas?
We are seeing a little bit of June gloom right now, but it's supposed to burn off in an hour or so, and we're gonna have a very hot weekend. We have a hot weekend this weekend, and then heading into 4th of July weekend next weekend. It's gonna be it's total beach weather. It's good for the summer. I don't love the beach, even though I grew up next to it.
I suppose that makes sense.
When it's everyone's like, it's in your backyard, you must love it. I was like, that's why I don't really love it. I'll go with my friends when they go, and I'm sure they're gonna want to go. We have a lot going on this weekend. There's Smackfest volleyball tournaments tomorrow.
Nice.
So that will be a full beach day, and then of course next weekend 4th of July, which is great. It falls on a Thursday because I'm off Thursday through Tuesday next week, and that is amazing.
Nice.
because of the holiday. And I guess and thankfully during the holidays, movie news is typically slow, so hopefully nothing will drop next week. And this news episode will satisfy everyone's newsworthy needs until our next one. But we do have some fairly big stuff to go over. I guess the big one,
a lot of news,
a lot of trailers.
What do you want to say?
The big one, I guess the big one off the top is that Megalopolis found a distributor.
Finally.
In Lionsgate. They're going to release the movie on September 27th. So the fall. Some people think that date is like a September dumping ground.
Yeah.
But what I found out too about this, this is a $120 million movie that Francis Ford Coppola financed himself. While it's great that Lionsgate picked it up, and they're probably going to get a lot of credit for picking up a polarizing movie, because as you all know, out of the film festival where it premiered at, the response was all over the place, from like masterful and brilliant to a masterful, brilliant mess.
And then there's allegations about some, conduct on set that were coming out around the same time too. It is, middled in controversy, unfortunately, but very excited to see it. It was one of those, still one of my top 10 most anticipated of the year. I don't know really how I feel about it with all this stuff. I'm trying to ignore it, but glad to see that we'll have the chance to see it in theaters at the beginning of the fall, which is nice.
Yep. And the one stipulation that they had for picking it up is that they were not going to cover a bulk of the marketing costs. So he has to spend an extra $15 to $20 million to market the movie. But thank God he's rich. So, I mean, he's fine. I think Lionsgate is maybe banking a little bit on the curiosity factor of people wanting to see it, based on the curiosity of, like, is it as bad as the people are saying, or is it as brilliant as some other people are saying?
Right.
It's a $120 million endeavor. I can understand on their end why that was the one big thing when the studios got to screen it. They were like, the studio's not going to pick this up because of the marketing spend alone on trying to convince casual moviegoers to go see it. And so good on them for doing it, but I guess they had to protect themselves financially too, and be like, we're not going to waste money marketing it.
If no one goes to see it.
We'll get it out there to the masses. But I think in the end they'll be remembered as a studio that took a chance on it when other studios didn't.
It's a win-win for them.
Yeah. I'm like you. I'm trying to ignore all the chatter about it because I still want to see it. I mean, even if it turns out to be a beautiful train wreck, I still want to say I witnessed it.
Safe to say we'll be seeing it and then likely chatting about it in a subsequent episode. So excited to knock that one off when the time comes.
Yeah, exactly. All right, what do we got next up?
So I didn't know about this one, but was a big fan of last year's Talk to Me. Great Australian horror film, came out in 2023. Was it 2023? And the duo directing partners who were known for their quite eclectic, vibrant, CGI heavy YouTube channel that broke out into filmmaking was a nice, come up story. And I guess their latest project, they have fallen through. They were working on a Street Fighter adaptation. I was kind of a little bit lost on that. I think hearing it now, I remember it at the time, the news, but I completely forgotten about it. And just curious what happened there. Like, is there any insight as to what went wrong, or were they already filming? Like, what stage were they at?
No, they were. It was in development, and they said their departure is largely to do with scheduling because Legendary and Capcom, who are doing the Street Fighter movie, wanted to start shooting very soon, but the brothers shifted their focus to their next A24 horror movie, Bring Her Back.
Okay,
so they wanted
awesome.
so they wanted to work on that. Capcom and Legendary was like, we need to get this out sooner because Capcom and Legendary, along with Sony Pictures, have already dated the movie for March of 2026, so it has a release date already.
Okay.
Now, but now no directors. So I'm guessing they're filling in that slot very, very soon. I thought it was a weird matchup that they were going to do it. I mean, I don't really need a Street Fighter movie. I don't know if you ever saw the one from the early 90s with Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's so bad that it's good.
Right. Okay.
And not in the same way like the original Mortal Kombat. The original Mortal Kombat from 1995, it could just be like the Techno Syndrome song that is like so popular from that movie that makes most of us say like, no, that was a good video game adaptation. I don't know if it. We talked about nostalgia when we covered Batman, and Mortal Kombat is another one that's pure nostalgia where you go, because there weren't like video game adaptations are hard to get right. You know, like in the early 90s, you had the Super Mario Brothers live action movie that was awful. You had Street Fighter. So Mortal Kombat was like a breath of fresh air, even though movie itself isn't entirely great either.
Right.
But they definitely got Street Fighter wrong. And, you know, it's one of the most popular video games ever. It's sold 49 million units worldwide since beginning its life in 1987. So I get why they want to get it done. I just thought that they were an offbeat choice to do it, but maybe they had like a good idea that they pitched, and that's why they were selected. But I am happy that they chose to work on their own original movie rather than do this.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that they still have ambitions and they're staying with A24 and staying in the horror realm. That's great news. Didn't know that. So that's not a complete lie. If anything, I mean, if I were to flip a coin, that's kind of how I'd want it to land. So for me, at least, it's not a bummer. That's fine. I'm sure the Street Fighter movie will be made. And on a similar note, Blade has now lost its fifth director, third, something like that, like several now.
I can't even like keep track of it anymore.
I mean, the movie's been in pre-production hell for 5 years now, and it's gone through several changes, and this is not looking good. I mean, another nail in the coffin.
Yeah, so I guess this is the second director. It's also lost writers. That's why it feels like it's lost a lot of people. That's
what I'm thinking of then.
Bassam Tariq departed the project and around 2022 when cameras were supposed to start rolling. That was told because they said the writer's strike set things back, but some people think there are a lot of creative differences going on with the movie.
Clearly,
Jan Demij was the new director that was working on the movie, and they said that the split was amicable between Marvel and the director. But there's a lot of stuff that hints that there's more problems here. Mahershala Ali has been involved with the movie since 2019. This was announced at Comic-Con San Diego in 2019. I love the Hollywood Reporter did like an expose about the Blade movie. And one of the things they said that Mahershala Ali's lawyer is very upset. And I can imagine why he would be very upset. That he said he's never seen something like this be in development this long and have very little movement. And a lot of people are joking too that like a Blade movie shouldn't be hard to put together. I mean, this is just a vampire that happens to slay other vampires, so it should be an easy movie to do.
Yeah, there's already formula that exists. You can't go wrong.
But it's gone through so many script changes that like Delroy Lindo was originally going to be in the movie, but they dropped him because of a script change. Mia Goth is still in the movie. She's been attached for a little bit. They actually interviewed her at the premiere of MaXXXine, and they asked her because of all the changes if she was still involved, and she said yes. And she gave a very diplomatic answer. She said, "I think Marvel just wants to make sure they get it right, and it's perfect. That's what's taking so long." As we know, Mahershala Ali went off to film Jurassic World, the new one with Scarlett Johansson and company, so that delays this Blade movie even more. I kind of want to put money on the fact that he's not going to do it, but I know one of the big reasons why he got involved with Blades because he saw Black Panther and he kind of wanted to have his own kind of like cultural movement. But I don't think Blade is that kind of movie or character. It makes more sense with Black Panther, which has the kind of like community world building that would create that kind of pop culture
Mhm.
movement that Black Panther did. But that, I mean, I think that's why he's sticking around. But I think he's also getting very perturbed with
Yeah,
sticking around.
understandably. This was his pitch, his idea after his second Oscar for the Green Book, right? He called up Marvel
Yeah.
Studios and said, "Let's get this done." And then 5 years later, has hardly moved. That would be disappointing to anybody. So I don't blame him for, he's got a career to maintain. He's got, time to work on other movies. Don't blame him at all. Probably doesn't help the development stage of Blade, but I mean, I think he's given it 5 years to get their shit figured out, and Marvel clearly, has some problems ahead. So I don't blame him for going to do Jurassic World. I'd like to see him do some other stuff like Moonlight. That's like what I love him for. So, but oh well.
Oh, did you hear? Because we mentioned Jurassic World. I saw an interview with Scarlett Johansson that she's been trying to be a part of the Jurassic World franchise for a better part of 10 years. I'm always surprised when people like her, that's the movie they want. I mean, I'm not saying that. Of course, she's done franchise movies. She's part of the she was part of the MCU,
right?
So I understand the need for actors to do franchise movies, but it just doesn't seem like she. I mean, I thought it took effort to get her, but it seems like she said that she would have settled for like a 5-minute cameo where she got to be in a Jurassic Park movie, and I was like,
something tells me that she must have wanted to be the lead in 2014's. Then, if she's been at it that long,
yeah, that makes sense.
Out to Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I'm glad they got a good cast. I'm still not totally on board with it, but glad there are good people involved, and I know, and him working on it, that just pushes Blade back. I mean, it's supposed to come out November 7th, 2025, and I doubt that's happening. Now I will probably expect another.
Why these release dates are figured out before the movie's even begun production is such an annoying trend to me. I don't think it's really proven to yield any fruitful results yet, and I am kind of waiting for that trend to die off. I think it's super annoying, but
yeah, I guess from a business end, they try to solidify the date. It shows confidence in what they're doing, and then if they kind of see, based on their projections of when they start shooting and post-production, they can have it out by a certain time where that will be hot for the movie.
Right.
I get it, but it is weird to hear release date. It is weird to hear release dates before, the Street Fighter one. They don't have a new director yet. I mean, they could be shuffling through people now. I mean, for all we know, but it's still no one's officially attached to direct it since they dropped out. So it is weird that news of them dropping out happened and they announced their release date like a week or two later. Yeah. So it's weird, but weird. I do think Blade's gonna see another delay.
Yeah,
I can't believe it's been that long that he's been involved with this and still hasn't. He's made other, I think, films since being attached to this movie. I understand his frustration too. I mean, I heard that at one point they wanted it to be a 1920s period piece, and then that. And it's hard to tell which ideas that people were game for and which people weren't. Even Wesley Snipes kind of dug in at them, basically kind of suggesting hey, it's not as easy as it looks, is it? That kind of thing. I mean, honestly, his first two movies should be the blueprint on how you get it right. I mean, I know that somebody consider them dated now, but people enjoy them and they're still well liked by fans. Even the second one being a kind of fan favorite.
Mm-hmm.
The third one not so much, but the first two for sure. But yeah, we'll see what happens with all that.
One day.
I'm predicting it gets shipped to 2026, and then we'll see what happens.
That might be in its best interest. Yeah.
From there,
this next piece is all you.
Oh, the Spaceballs one.
Yeah, what is going on here?
Do you know what Spaceballs is?
I know what it is. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I'm more intrigued at Josh Gad helming it. I don't know. I guess
he's writing it.
Writing? Okay.
Well, yeah. He's going to produce and star in it. Yeah, never mind. And this is the second thing that Josh Gad's been a part of that's been interesting. He's also involved with that Chris Farley biopic that Paul Walter Hauser is doing. But they said Josh Gad is attached to produce and star in a Spaceballs sequel in early development at Amazon MGM Studios. Mel Brooks, who co-wrote and directed the 1987 original, is on board as a producer, while Josh Greenbaum, who wrote Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar, will direct. Oh, from Gad's script, he is writing it. So Josh Gad is writing it.
Okay.
He wrote it with Benji Summit and Dan Hernandez. For those that don't know, the original movie is primarily a parody of the original Star Wars trilogy, but also parodies other sci-fi films and popular franchises, including Star Trek, Alien, The Wizard of Oz, 2001: Space Odyssey, Planet of the Apes, and Transformers. The original movie starred Bill Pullman, John Candy, and Rick Moranis, alongside Daphne Zuniga, and also the voice of Joan Rivers in the movie as well. It wasn't a huge hit; it was a modest hit. It made $38 million on a $22 million budget. But it became a cult classic later,
right?
I'm not like, so I, full disclosure, I like some of Mel Brooks' stuff, but I won't lie and say I'm a Mel Brooks like cinephile, like Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein and all those movies. Like I've seen them all maybe once, and I probably should be more familiar with them. So I don't know where Spaceballs ranks on for bigger fans of his in his filmography of satires and spoofs. But I do know that it does have a pretty decent cult following since it was released. I don't know if anyone was clamoring for a sequel, particularly written by Josh Gad, because I guess he's one of those people in Hollywood, but a lot of people don't like. They don't, and they don't really understand why they don't like him. They just know they don't.
Right.
I don't know where you feel about him.
I don't really like or respect any of his work. He seems to just kind of, I don't know really how I would like sum up his career. He just kind of stays in like animated stuff and voice work, Disney stuff, and like doesn't really feel like he takes many creative leaps. So
yeah,
again, here's like a sequel, not any original IP. I just kind of lump him in that category as like, someone that you can easily place in some sort of kid-friendly animated stuff. And I don't know, not my type of guy. I've never really found him funny in the stuff that I have seen him in, but that's why I'm just like, I don't know, doesn't interest me at all. I was curious what your pitch on it would be. And again, I haven't really seen the original Spaceballs. I'd like to someday, just to say
It's been a while for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't watched it in a long time. I mean, I do remember finding it funny. And I mean, of course, it's funnier if you are astutely familiar with the movies it's
right.
spoofing,
And that would be the
particularly
fun part.
Star Wars. But like, I don't know if anyone was clamoring for a sequel to it, but we're in the age of like
another useless legacy sequel.
Yeah, we're in the age of IP and all that, and a lot of people pivoting with their stuff lately too. It's not on our docket, but only because like it reminds me of it. Remember when David Zaslav was like wanted to make like the HBO Max streaming service like the home for like their new original content, and then they rebranded it as Max.
Yeah, and
I think they're seeing dropping the HBO from the HBO Max is not as inviting for subscribers. So these shows that they're developing, like Welcome to Derry, which is like the series that they're doing that new Harry Potter series, a Green Lantern series. Those are all going to premiere on the streaming service, and now they're all pivoting back to HBO, the just cable network, because they're reevaluating their streaming strategy. And I think what they should have reevaluated was not changing the name to just Max, because that doesn't have the same, like, you need the HBO there. I mean, I know everyone knows that it's HBO Max, that's their streaming service, but maybe the uninitiated don't know that.
Yeah, 100%.
It doesn't have the same like allure to it when you're like, oh, like check out this new Max original series.
It just sounds lame. It's like Elon Musk changing Twitter to X, like as if they thought that was some sort of clever, cool name. It's like it's just lame. Yeah,
and MGM, Prime Video, they're doing the same thing with they have their stake in Lord of the Rings with the TV show. That's why they're doing stuff with like Roadhouse, that's getting a sequel, and now Spaceballs, they're working on that sequel. So we're in the age of IP and sequels and reboots and reimaginings and whatever you want to call
them. An age I'm looking forward to getting out of. Although I'm scared for what's next.
Oh, will we ever get out of it?
I don't know. You can, in theory, you can beat a dead horse forever, and there's so much stuff out there that can still be remade and add sequels added to it. There's so much content out there that hasn't been, remade yet. So anyway, I'm not looking forward to all those future projects.
And I say this as I think the next story is about a reimagining reboot, but it's one you can get behind, because at least the director of it is the new director of it is someone we like in Mike Flanagan.
Yep.
We already told you that he is doing the next Exorcist movie, but they're dumping that whole trilogy idea, not doing the whole believer deceiver thing that David Gordon Green was doing. That is dead because that movie,
thank God.
I won't say it flopped, but it underperformed, and the
critically
they were really bad. But it has an official release date of March 13th, 2026. And what I like about the 2026 and March 13th, just on paper, is 2026 is that means they're giving him time to develop it and make it right. They're not rushing it out there. And March 13th is a Friday, so they're releasing it at least on Friday the 13th to go along with
catch there.
To go along with the whole like horror movie thing too. I mean, horror movies in March aren't a bad thing. That's fine.
We're seeing a pivot to that in later years, And
I think we told you that his take is going to be a radically different approach from David Gordon Green's The Exorcist Believer. So that's what they're banking on, and they need to bank hard because this was a $400 million investment. But a lot of people, I think, are on board. They're all like, in Mike Flanagan, we trust. So that's good. But that's what I liked about the release day. What do you think about when they're planning on releasing it? And
I would have liked an October release personally. Just fits more with.
You're the fan of the spooky season October.
Yeah, big time. I know even the original didn't. It came out in December.
You make all your horror films like compete with each other in the month of October.
Late September, October, absolutely. If I just feels like that belongs. So March. I know that we're seeing a trend of more horror movie releases in the first quarter and half of the year. So I mean that seems on brand, but traditionally, like that would seem out of place, I feel. So I get times are changing, but Friday the 13th, that's, pretty cool release slot there. I'm okay with that. And, I trust in Mike Flanagan. The guy hasn't let us down ever. He's kind of almost single-handedly carrying horror. So I think he has what it takes to kind of revive this almost failed endeavor. So I'll believe in him. I'll take it. And March, I guess, so just shy of 2 years, we'll see what he comes up with and how he saves this Exorcist debacle.
You have avoided the movie, the David Gordon Green one.
Oh yeah, I have no interest in seeing it. Honestly,
no. I think when I told you it's not good.
I watched some reviews and stuff too. Had some spoilers and just kind of got everything I needed out of that. And I was like, I'm not going to subject myself to something that I already know I'm going to hate because I'm just going to hate watch it. And got too many other things to spend my watch time to.
The deafening silence when that screening was over was, sometimes there's that silence of which is can happen.
Yep.
But the difference when it's and just it's so bad I don't know what to say.
Right.
But like I said, I had 3 people whose reviews I trust who liked it, and I just didn't respond to their review. I was like, oh well, that's cool.
Not a chance.
Yeah. Speaking of Friday the 13th, real quick, because we had mentioned that Brian Fuller had left the A24 show, and I want to pivot on that a little bit because we've kind of found out, I guess, a little bit as to why.
Okay.
The Wrap did a big, extensive investigative report on why his version fell apart. Apparently, the budget on the show was $85 million, which is bigger than any of the movie budgets. So this was going to be 10 episode, planned as a 10 episode per season. That was going to kind of touch on almost each film in the franchise, as far as it, picking up the prequel ideas, I guess.
Okay.
They wanted Charlize Theron to play Pamela Voorhees. That was a big a big thing they wanted. Kevin Williamson was going to write and direct some episodes as well.
Okay.
They said that he actually had planned a kind of, and this is more, I guess, a Game of Thrones reference, but I do know this, that he was planning his very own Red Wedding style episode of the prequel series. And I think what they said made everything fall apart were a lot of lofty expectations between A24 and Peacock and Fuller. Peacock and was on board with what Fuller was doing, and then the people from A24, I guess, got on the call with them and were like, "No, this isn't working." And it sounded like he left, but they're implying that they were fired.
Okay.
From it, and they didn't feel confident in his vision, I guess, at all. And a lot of it had to do with it being over budgeted. That's a pretty expensive show.
Yeah.
but it was like, you know, a lot of, and another big thing too, a lot of the writers that worked on the show pre-strike, I guess one of the big thing about the writers' room after the strike is that you would have to pay these writers, of course, for their time on the show in early development, and A24 did not plan on paying them for their early work on the show, which means that they would not be coming back to do. So Fuller was like, I need rewrites on these scripts and ideas that they came up with, but they weren't going to come back if they weren't being paid for their earlier work on the show. So that was another thing that got in the way of it. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay, interesting. Finally know.
That's why it fell apart.
Well, but they're still love that about A24.
I don't either, and like they're still invested in making it. They're just considering another creative direction.
Okay.
They were just saying that I guess Fuller's ideas were ambitious, but like I don't see anything wrong with ambitious ideas. But I think we mentioned it before. Friday the 13th, like you don't have to be that ambitious with it. It's such a basic slasher.
But like, do we want another basic slasher entry in this series that's been running for 40 years right now? I think ambition would do this well. I think Brian Fuller and Kevin Williamson duo is a match made in heaven for that show. So that's too bad.
Yeah, I just love that they were considering Charlize Theron for
that's an awesome casting. Actually,
they were shooting for the stars. But yeah, that's why I fell apart. And honestly, I'm not sure if I mean, I love A24, but this is also their first foray into they want. I mean, we talked about this a long time ago. They want bigger IPs, even though they're known as like being an independent studio. They want IPs that will make them money, and I think that's where they're kind of faltering because they don't know how to handle stuff like that. They're good at the independent stuff, and I think they should focus on that. But I get the need to turn a profit.
Yeah,
but it's definitely not in their wheelhouse. But also speaking of IPs that are expanding, didn't know we needed this. But Atomic Monster, which is James Wan's production company, and Blumhouse Productions are expanding the Megan universe with a spinoff called Soulmate, with an 8 substituting for the A in mate, that is set for January 2nd, 2026. They are describing it as a 1990s erotic thriller with a new technological twist. The synopsis is: in Soulmate, a man acquires an artificially intelligent android to cope with the loss of his recently deceased wife. In an attempt to create a truly sentient partner, he inadvertently turns a harmless love bot into a deadly soulmate. What do you think? What do you think about that?
The fact that it's an erotic thriller featuring an android and a dude whose wife died, that is crazy. Just the sound of that, like I got to give credit for whoever pitched this and forever who thought this was going to be a good idea. That is quite interesting. I got to give them credit for that sort of gamble. That sounds nuts. Having not seen Megan yet, I don't know how I feel about, like, I would like to see it, and would maybe
it's good.
Spooky season, and Cam had watched it and like decently decent. Liked it. Didn't love it, but
I mean, it definitely toys with the more kid angle because they create the doll she's creating the doll for her company, but she ends up taking in her niece whose parents are killed in a car wreck. So she kind of tests Megan out on her niece as the doll is meant to be like the perfect companion for like a young child.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the Megan becomes so protective of said niece that she turns to like murder when anyone like does the niece wrong. So there's the childlike part of that story. What's intriguing, I guess, is the adult version of this. That sounds like a very interesting idea, at least, because it even like you don't even have to read in between the lines to suggest what this is trying to be, especially when it's billed as a 1990s erotic thriller. He's gonna be doing something with his
love doll.
His love doll.
God. Oh man.
And if you're wondering why this is, Megan's already getting a sequel that is coming out called Megan 2.0. That'll be out June 27th, 2025. And the reason why we're even getting this expanded Megan universe is because Megan grossed $181 million globally when it came out. So it was a huge hit. And Soulmate's gonna be directed by a woman. Kate Dillon is directing it. and she rewrote the original draft of the script by Raphael Jordan. And the story itself comes from James Wan and Ingrid Basu as well. So interesting idea. I mean, I do think it's like, at least if we're going to expand the universe, it's not just like, oh, let's make a boy toy for a young kid. That, I mean, like that kind of thing. Like,
right.
That would basically be child's play. So like, let's
exactly
do that. And so I do like the adult twist
angle. Yeah, that's nice.
But I already imagine a lot of cringe moments in the theater watching
it. Yeah, that's exactly where my mind's going. I think they've tried their best to keep those images out of our minds, but you can only do that so much.
Yeah. All right, what we got next?
Let's see. Oh, so those who are listening, I think a couple weeks ago now, we had a news episode where we announced a potential merger between Paramount and, was it Sony? No,
Skydance. It was Skydance. Yeah, Sony was involved initially, but I think they dropped out.
So this merger is now fallen through. So
yeah,
I mean,
they said. So we announced that it seemed like it was a done deal. They seemed confident. But they said just about a week after reports spread of a final Paramount Skydance merger, Sherry Redstone, who was involved with Paramount, ended the acquisition talks, and they completely fell apart. And they said, we received the financial terms of the proposed Paramount Skydance transaction over the weekend, and we are reviewing them. That was the original idea, and it seemed like things were a go, but they said it fell off because the shareholders couldn't come to an agreement on the back pricing and all this stuff as well. But it seems like Paramount is still interested in selling, because I don't know if you heard the story about how they cleared some of the content from like their Comedy Central website, their MTV News website. They cleared it all. Like all their stuff is gone. And like some people think it kind of signals a company that wants to sell, because they're, wiping their slate clean. And I think they also are laying off a few people as well. But as far as we know, this deal completely fell apart because they weren't able to mutually come together on acceptable terms. And they also said, and they thank Skydance for their time. I just think it's funny.
Okay.
That
seems like a nice bow tie.
Yeah, National Music is grateful to Skydance for their months of work in pursuing this potential transaction and looks forward to the ongoing successful production collaboration between Paramount and Skydance, because they would still work together on movies, just not on the merger. It said it supports the recently announced strategic plan being executed by Paramount's Office of the CEO, as well as their ongoing work and that of the company's board of directors to continue to explore opportunities to drive value creation for all Paramount shareholders. They said Redstone was particularly irked that Skydance's revised terms reduced the value of National Amusements to $1.7 billion from $2 billion. She also reportedly wanted Skydance to provide legal protection in case investors decided to sue as well. All this businessy stuff, I have no idea anything about. But
me either.
I'm just glad that it didn't happen.
Bottom line, it's going to keep, I guess, at least a little bit more competition in the studio sphere when it comes to movies and where we can see them. I mean, it's already becoming less and less crowded with these bigger monopolies merging, but just to have one less to worry about is a win as far as consumers are concerned.
But also pay attention to them shuttering some of that stuff on their sites, like the Comedy Central stuff. Like, I mean, who knows why, but like some people think that hints at them wanting to still sell, but
and they might.
But yeah, they might. But as of now, no deal. So Paramount still stands as one of the key like movie studios out there. This is why a lot of people don't want them to merge with anyone.
Right.
So hopefully they don't.
We'll see.
I'm not really looking forward to it.
Who knows? I'm sure in a few months we might be revisiting this topic, but hopefully not. I don't really want any studios to merge. If anything, I want more, I want them to split apart.
Yeah. I'm still not like the Disney Fox one. I'm still not. I mean, I get it. It happened, but it didn't really benefit us as like, of course.
No, the less Disney has, the better. I hope that they keep losing money and have to sell.
They have a monopoly on like they get Star Wars, they get Indiana Jones. I mean, not anymore. That's probably done. But they get Alien. They get Predator if they want it. They get Marvel. They get everything. So I mean, that's what I did like about that merger, is that they kind of monopolize a big chunk of the industry by doing it. But
exactly, some of the biggest IPs, and look at what's happened to majority of those IPs that they've really invested in and how they are now Granted, I gotta say I'm okay with how they've handled the Predator series, and I'm not sure if they put out, would Alien Covenant have been the only Alien property they've put out since the merger?
I think that's right.
And Romulus, for all intents and purposes, looks awesome. Looks like they've stayed away from, that oversight, which is fine with me. And then we have the Alien FX show that's coming out too, which I'm excited for. But almost everything else that they've touched has had the reverse Midas effect since, without the MCU, I guess, pre-Endgame times. But anyway, off topic. Last thing before we break into trailers, we got 6 to give you our opinions on today. Just a little bit of sad news. We've had two big long-term industry folks pass away. Bill Cobbs, who Gaius, I guess you were a little bit more familiar with him than I was.
I actually, we were going through his stuff. There's a movie that I know some people have seen. I know Merc has seen it. There's a movie called New Jack City that came out in the early 90s with Wesley Snipes. He plays a character called Nino Brown in it. A lot of people describe New Jack City as the Black Scarface, pretty much. Nice. Bill Cobbs has a small but pivotal role in that movie that actually Wesley Snipes posted a clip from on his X page. Nice. After the news of his passing. It's a pivotal scene in the movie. It actually happens at the end of the movie. But he posted it as a kind of tribute to Bill Cobbs. I mean, he just turned, I think, 90 or 94? 90, I think, because his birthday was on June 16th, 1934. And he lived 90 years old, lived a pretty full life, and had a lot of TV and film credits. He was in The Bodyguard, The Hudsucker Proxy, Night of the Museum. He had his first big screen appearance was a very small role in 1974 as The Taking of Pelham 123. But all in all, he has over 200 film and TV credits, and they said the lion's share of those came in the 50s and onwards. As filmmakers and TV producers turned to him again and again to imbue small but pivotal parts with a wizened and worn soulfulness. That's what he was kind of known for. He also appeared on The Sopranos, The West Wing, Sesame Street, Good Times, Air Bud in that movie as well. Okay. You remember the movie about the dog that can play basketball? And he won a Daytime Emmy in 2020 as well. So he was working for a bit well into the later years of his life. So I wanted to bring him up because he passed fairly recently, a few days ago. And the other one being Donald Sutherland. That was one that hit a lot of people pretty hard.
Yeah, that sucks.
Even though he lived a pretty full life as well. I think his son Kiefer Sutherland was the one that announced it via social media. And then what I found, when a lot of this stuff happens, everyone's trying to pick what movie they most remember him for, and everyone had totally different things. I couldn't really think of what stood out the most. I mean, this is also someone that did TV and film as well. He was in a slew of Don't Look Now, which is a signature horror movie. He was in Invasions of the Body Snatchers as well. He's an Ordinary People. A lot of people think he should have been nominated for an Oscar for that. He did win a Primetime Emmy Award and 2 Golden Globe Awards, as well as earned a BAFTA Award nomination. He's in the Hunger Games franchise. He was also a part of big franchises as well. This is not a significant role of his career, but I kept thinking of A Time to Kill, and I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right, and I guess
he's in that as well.
He is. They don't share any scenes together because Kiefer Sutherland plays a really racist redneck in the movie, and Donald Sutherland's character is a lawyer that Matthew McConaughey's Jake Brigance kind of once idolized and looked up to, and then when he finally seeks out his help on this big controversial case, Donald Sutherland's character in that movie is not. He's kind of washed up, and he's a drunk, and but he cleans himself up to help give some advice on that trial. And I don't know if I just remember that movie the most because I've seen that movie so many times, and that's what I kind of identified with. But he's been in so many other things. Yeah,
he's credited in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, that too. The TV show. The movie. Yeah.
I thought that would be the first thing you'd mention.
I thought it would be too, but what you should know, fans of the TV show don't necessarily love the movie, but the movie does have its
merits.
Yeah, it does. But even Joss Whedon was like the TV show is what he wanted that to be. But yes, he did play Buffy's Watcher in the movie version.
Okay.
Opposite Christy Swanson. But yeah, he did a lot. I mean, what do you kind of remember him?
I'm trying to think like the earlier thing, like the earliest thing. I think what I would have known him from was maybe like the early. I had always known like who he was because growing up, like my parents loved him, and he was born. Actually, we were born in the same city, St. John, New Brunswick. So there was that kind of connection, always knowing him. And I was more like familiar with Kiefer Sutherland, and then found out he had a dad that was also quite a legendary actor. And then I think around the time when I was like first coming into movies, like the Hunger Games would have been big ones that I knew him from. But I have since seen some of his earlier work. Like I've seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He's great in that. I haven't seen this, but I've always wanted to. But he's in Oliver Stone's JFK, which is great. I want to see that. I loved him in Ad Astra, kind of a smaller role, but one of his more recent movies that I've seen him in. I don't think I've seen anything that earlier into his career, like earlier 70s or anything, but like a handful of roles. Time to Kill, I know him from, of course.
We covered him a bit. We covered him a bit in the Italian Job. It's a small part.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. That's actually what I found out that you said that he was from Canada.
Yeah.
When we talked about that movie.
No one is from New Brunswick, let alone Canada. So it's just cool to have that connection to somebody that huge. Sorry, a couple other movies I remember from earlier. The Mechanic with I almost said Jason Bourne with Jason Statham. 2011 in the same year. Horrible Bosses. That was definitely the first role.
Oh yeah, and I actually saw.
He's hilarious.
I actually saw someone associated with that movie posted that they were intimidated to ask him to do it because it was a small part.
Yeah.
But he came in and was excited to do it, and that's what they remembered most about him. That he gave his A game even for like the smallest parts. Yeah. I mean, I think at that point when you hit a certain age, I think you're just happy to be working.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, two very, prolific older actors that contributed a lot to the industry, but they leave behind a ton of work for you to go back and enjoy.
Right.
I need to pay attention more to Kiefer Sutherland to see if he like distinctly picked up some of his dad's like acting nuances, I guess. I've never really paid attention between the two of them.
Looked into that either.
Because I always thought Kiefer Sutherland had like he's a good actor, but there's something about him that like he has like a natural charisma to him, I guess. Which I mean, it's not like this is like his best movie, but I think of The Lost Boys when I think of Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, definitely.
Because he embodies like, even though he's evil, he embodies like cool in that movie. Like,
yes, he does.
Like you want to hang out with those vampires, even though they're bad.
Always had a soft spot for Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, but I would like want to see like what he maybe picked up from his dad, acting wise.
Hopefully, someone will make a compilation or something showing their career side by side. That'd be nice.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
All right, we got trailers, and you're excited for this one, the first one.
Oh, am I ever? It was like Christmas morning when we finally got the teaser, I guess this was the first look at Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. And I think the video like of the trailer is a little longer than the actual footage we get. I think it's like just under a minute and a half, but the video is like closer to 2 minutes. So it is a teaser, and true to its form, doesn't really give much away. I mean, if you're familiar with the previous adaptations of the story of Nosferatu, I think we see the bits and pieces are all there from earlier adaptations. And on that note, I was going to ask you if you've seen either the 1922 version or the more recent 1979 one from Werner Herzog.
I have not. You know, it's funny. The only thing I've seen is
awesome.
The only thing I've seen related to Nosferatu was Shadow of the Vampire with Willem Dafoe, where he plays, I guess the guy who plays Nosferatu.
Right.
So that's the only thing I've seen. I've actually never seen any of the earlier
Werner Herzog's 1979 version of Nosferatu is an absolute spectacle. It's fantastic. I think it's all shot with natural light, if I'm not mistaken. Just a great vampire story. And it is very similar to Dracula, because Dracula was inspired by Nosferatu as well. But there's a German language, like it was shot in German and then I think dubbed in English, or no, sorry, I'm wrong. He filmed it twice, once in English and once in German. So filmed all the scenes twice to make two different versions of the movie. And the DVD I has both versions, and I've seen both. And it's funny though, because there are subtle differences amongst like certain scenes and lines, but it's worth watching. Either one is fantastic. And one of my favorite vampire movies. I love Werner Herzog as a filmmaker. So finding out like back after The Northman, when Robert Eggers had said that this is what he had his eye on next to develop, I was over the moon. And now we have our first look. It had everything in it that I wanted. What did you think of the trailer? I've seen it like maybe 2 times now.
I liked it. I remember I sent you a message because like they didn't release it online right away. It was attached to the bike riders,
right?
And they were gonna let that play out the weekend, and then which is I think it's cool. It gives like incentive to go see the bike riders again if you were on the fence about it. So I was stoked to like kind of see it online. I mean, I'd already seen the bike riders last year, so I didn't go see it again this weekend or the weekend it came out. But I waited
did. Well, side note.
Did you?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Great period drama, and of course it did have the Nosferatu trailer ahead, which I was just as excited for.
Yeah, I think visually it looks really great, and I love that it's just a teaser. I mean, a true teaser trailer.
Yeah.
Unlike some of the other ones we're going to cover in a few.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all in on it. I think it looks really good. I got to convince. I'm trying to see how I convince anyone in the family to go on Christmas Day to see this. It's gonna be a tough. It's gonna be a tough sell. But I already told my brother, I was like, well, all right, we'll do like the early Christmas stuff with the family, and then we'll like sneak off and go see this.
Nice.
Because usually like we've done like the family Christmas movie before, but this doesn't scream like
not at all
family Christmas movie whatsoever.
Also surprised at this release date, but whatever. Exorcist did it too earlier.
Yeah, it could be good counter programming. Yeah.
We'll see. For anyone that maybe doesn't know or isn't familiar with it, the movie stars Aaron Taylor Johnson and Bill Skarsgård, both of which we don't even really see in the teaser. I don't know Bill Skarsgård's face anyway. Willem Dafoe and Lily Rose Depp. It's an adaptation from a couple previous entries, and it focuses on it's a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and the terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing untold horror in its wake, according to IMDb. So looks great. Check out the teaser if you guys haven't yet.
And Nicholas Holt's also in it too. Like the cast is pretty exciting. I also think this could end up being his highest grossing movie of the movies he's released. It seems like it has
Nicholas Hoult or Robert Eggers?
No, Robert Eggers. I feel like this has the most potential commercial appeal of the movies that he's released so far.
Okay, I hope so, because that guy
we'll see.
needs some recognition. He is an awesome.
I might eat my words come December, but it also gets the benefit of that like kind of holiday stretch where like a lot of those movies make a lot of money because a lot of people are off work and out of school and all that. So I mean, if it gets good reviews on top of being a good movie, we'll see. But I think it has potential to be his highest grossing movie so far. He seems to be moving up and up with each release.
Yeah, so certainly. I'm trying to think of what other trailers we got here. I think that is pretty much the end of the ones that I was really into.
Oh yeah. We have Smile. We have Smile 2. Did you see Smile?
I have not yet, and I am interested in it.
Yeah, it was a movie that was originally supposed to go straight to Paramount Plus, but then preview screenings, they had a few of them, and it tested like extremely well, and it ended up being the highest grossing horror film of the year that it came out. It grossed like over $200 million worldwide, so it was a huge hit. So they're probably really happy that they pivoted from the streaming service.
I didn't realize it was adapted from a short, so that's pretty cool. I would like to check.
Yeah, and the girl, you see the trailer for the first one, right? Yeah. The girl who like cuts her face, like she is the girl from the short film. Okay. So they actually brought her over from that, and she got to play that part again in the movie. Nice. The original movie actually starred Kevin Bacon and Kara Sedgwick's daughter. I didn't even know they had a daughter that acted, but she was the lead, and Kyle Gallner was also in the movie as well. He's going to also be in the sequel. Taking over in the lead position is Naomi Scott, who you might remember from Aladdin, the live action Aladdin. She played Jasmine. She was the Pink Ranger in the Power Rangers movie in 2017. And she plays a pop star in this movie, and that is struggling with a drug addiction. And that is, they're not really giving really a lot of the plot, but that is like what a lot of it is. The promotion for the movie already looks pretty cool. They released a few like music videos of her singing in character as part of the promotion. I think the teaser looks decent enough. I mean, I agree. I think
it looks good.
The marketing for the first movie was great. I mean, I love when they have people at baseball games just standing in the middle of like the crowd, just randomly smiling at the camera. I mean, that was some genius horror movie marketing, and I think they're going to try to replicate that again here. But yeah,
what I'm thinking is that I think that worked once great. Like I think Smile was as good as it could have been. I'm even though I haven't seen it, I'm watching this trailer knowing about the first one, having seen the first trailer a few times, and I'm like, I don't think that there is longevity in this
franchise
of having people like creepily smile at you for the movie until you die. I'm like, that is a good one-off and was probably a great short. This just screams at me like, yeah, our movie was successful. We're going to pump out another sequel. I think it's a one-trick pony, but I could eat my words if it ends up being good. We'll see.
Yep. But it does, like you would think, want to. It comes out on October 18th this year.
Yeah, so there we go. Great timing for a horror movie release.
In the middle of the spooky season. The last one came out in September, and a lot of people were like, oh, they dumped it. And it ended up being a huge hit.
I don't know. I think September is a pseudo spooky season
month. Yeah. And especially considering that they pivoted from streaming, and it was almost like a last-minute decision to do it. So it worked out financially. I mean, it ended up being the highest-grossing horror movie of 2022. So, and the sequel was inevitable. Apparently there was a test screening for the movie, and it tested again pretty high for the sequel. So that's promising, at least. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping it's as good. And if it is good, I would hope they stop here. I do like that Parker Finn, who directed and wrote the first movie, is doing now in the sequel.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
He's been there since the short film. I mean, so apparently he came up with a good idea for a second one. But like every horror franchise, I don't want them to franchise it to death.
That's what I'm worried about.
We have Smile 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
We might end up with a whole like Conjuring universe situation, which I guess could work out. I mean, that's worked for that universe, but I think there's more. But I think there's more story there. Yeah,
there's actual real case files to adapt into movies in that case. So I think that is something that helps the Conjuring universe stand above the rest.
Yep. So what did you think of this Red One trailer with a Christmas action adventure comedy directed by Jake Kasdan, who actually did the Jumanji movies with Dwayne Johnson. So
yeah,
there's that connection. It's from an original story by Hiram Garcia, who is Dwayne Johnson's producing partner in his $7 production banner. Movie also stars Chris Evans and Lucy Liu and Kieran Shipka as well. And J.K. Simmons. And I'm gonna just read the synopsis, and then Jackson will let you know what he thought of the trailer. It says, following the abduction of Santa Claus, head of North Pole Security, Callum Drift must team up with bounty hunter Jack O'Malley to find and rescue him. Yeah, it was a long trailer.
It was a long trailer. It shows a lot. I think like the premise is like silly, fun, like more kid oriented, but this movie doesn't seem to be. I mean, it's not like, gory or like cursing or anything. It's like, but
yeah,
it's definitely leaning into this trend of action spy movies that is all the rage since like the 2020s, and Netflix is really going in on all those, and like that is getting tired to me. And Dwayne Johnson, like, I just am really looking for him to pivot his career finally, but he seems
it's like he's trying to
dumb action movies. Like
he has that A24 movie, that
wrestling movie, right? And that's great. I hope that does well, and he's good in it.
Yeah, I think that's what he needs to do, and I think he kind of saw that with like his past input, including this. Yeah, that he needed to do that. I think he's a good guy, but my opinion of him had swayed so much during the whole Black Adam debacle. I think he has, like, it's so funny because he used to call out Vin Diesel's ego while they were making the Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah,
but I honestly believe that was a pot meat kettle situation.
Yeah,
where like his ego is just as big, and but he has a better public persona, and he can kind of hide his ego tendencies, I guess, a bit better than most. But I with you. Like, the premise sounds fun, and like I guess like if I wouldn't go see it in theaters, but if I caught it on TV and it happened to be decent, I'm like, all right, that was a fun way to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours.
There's moments in it that look like they'll be funny and stuff, but overall, like, not anything I would ever go near, probably. So
I mean, biased, and I guess Chris Evans is that's a fun pairing with Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, I don't love like what he's kind of leaning into, and I get like you know, he's his individual. He's a person. He wants to have fun with the movies he makes, but the guy has a pretty good track record of making good movies, and I want to see him stick to that instead of copying out on these, you know, easy paychecks.
He is in Celine Song's next movie with Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal.
Okay.
So there's that.
There we go.
I feel like it's so funny that him and Dwayne Johnson, I feel like they looked at like, what did we do last? Like, we got to fix our career trajectory a little bit. But yeah, if you're interested in Red One, comes out on November 15th. I think in theaters as well. I think it's in theaters, even though it's a Amazon MGM Studios release. So yeah, have fun. It's a Christmas movie.
Yeah. On the note of this next trailer that we're covering, I misspoke earlier when I said that Nosferatu was the last of the ones I'm interested in. Robert Zemeckis' next movie had its trailer debut. It's called Here, and admittedly, I'm the first person to say, you know, don't judge a book by its cover, don't judge a movie by its trailer. But I only had a quick little look at this movie, like when the trailer dropped. Like I saw the thumbnail, saw like a de-aged Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. And I was like, what is this? Like, I don't know. I wasn't really impressed. And the title Here, I was like, I don't know. This seems like it's going to be a weird, you know, rom-com dramedy or something. And was like not interested in it. And then when you brought it up here to cover the trailer, I watched it and was actually surprised at how intriguing I thought that trailer was. So I was wrong, and actually looks pretty cool. It gives me Tree of Life vibes.
Yeah, that's the vibe I got from it too. Yeah. And for those wondering, the story covers the events of a single spot of land and its inhabitants spanning from the past to well into the future. It looks interesting. I'll give it that. So I will go out on a limb and say like I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah.
It's just funny to me that Robert Zemeckis, this is the man that gave us Back to the Future and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And I guess Forrest Gump. I'm not a huge Forrest Gump fan, but I know some of you guys out there are. I still think Shawshank Redemption or Pulp Fiction should have won Best Picture that
easily.
Year.
Yeah, I still love Forrest Gump, but yeah, it has that bad.
But his like recent output is really weird, and I'm not totally confident in all the things that
I agree with you.
He did What Lies Beneath in 2000. I kind of forgot he did that too. I was just looking through his filmography.
I don't even know that.
And Castaway, it's like a ghost movie with like Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer.
Okay. See, Castaway is one of his I'm not crazy about.
Yeah, I don't love it either. I mean, I do respect the performance of Tom Hanks in it.
Yeah, and it's iconic and it deserves to be. But like, I watched it and it was like, okay.
And that creepy looking Polar Express movie has become a Christmas classic for people that love it. But people think that looks visually like, oh, it looks visually good. I just think it looks creepy. It looks weird. And
it's uncanny.
I've never been into it.
I will say,
I always go back to the fact that he made Back to the Future and like,
long time ago now. One of his most recent outings though is Allied, and with Brad Pitt and Marion Cotillard, and I love that movie. Awesome World War II spy drama. So that's one of his more recent movies that I've seen that I actually really like, and this seems like more in line with like away from his sci-fi action spectacle stuff.
Oh, I forgot he did that live action Pinocchio for Disney Plus.
Oh boy, that's right. Yeah, that got Tom Hanks. One of his Razzie nominations that year.
Yeah, that is what I mean by his most recent output. So
yeah, fair enough. That is a problem.
So we'll see. But it looks intriguing though. I do think it looks intriguing, and like hopefully if they nail that idea and that premise, that it'll be an interesting one to watch. So I'm hoping for the best. It opens on November 15th, the same day as Red One. So pick your poison between those two movies.
Okay.
So we're gonna lump these two Mark Wahlberg trailers together. He's the king of the paycheck movie, and
he is.
These both feel like paycheck movies. I will say one looks more fun than the other.
Okay. I don't know which one you think.
Only because I could be down for like some fun chemistry and banter between him and Halle Berry in the trailer for The Union. It still looks dumb, but I there's potential there. And the other one being Flight Risk that Mel Gibson directed. So there's that.
Yeah, when I saw that from the director of Braveheart, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? This is Mel Gibson making this?
Yep.
Whoever cut that trailer showed us the whole movie.
That was my biggest complaint about it. It
Everything.
gives everything away. I think Merck, when he posted on his story, it was like, either just read the synopsis or just watch 30 seconds of this and turn it off.
Yeah,
I guys like it show because it shows you everything. But
the one takeaway is Mark Wahlberg's haircut is going to go down in history in Flight Risk.
What's his ice accident? I couldn't tell. Is it his own or?
Well, I detected some Boston coming out, but it sounded like he was trying to do a Southern-ish accent, and then a couple of his words, you could hear the Bostonian creep in. It was just not great.
Yeah. So The Union is a Netflix movie. Big surprise. Because it looks like one.
Yeah.
The synopsis says a construction worker is roped into the espionage world of his former high school girlfriend, played by Halle Berry. Mike Coulter is also in the film as well. Jackie Earle Haley and J.K. Simmons. J.K. Simmons, what are you doing?
Yeah, another one. I thought I saw Jackie Earle Haley in there, but wasn't sure. So that's awesome. I love him.
So a lot of people thought when Halle Berry was sporting this look that she was maybe doing some Deadpool and Wolverine cameo work.
This is what that was for.
And this is now it's very possible that she could still have been doing,
I suppose,
Deadpool and Wolverine cameo work. But no, she has a Netflix deal, so I get it. I think he has one too, and his movies have been successful for them. I get it. I do think of the two, this looks the most fun.
Is that right? Yeah. Yeah.
I think you said which one. You're like, no, they both look awful.
I would say, like, I think they both have dumb premises, but this one looks like, I agree. It could be more fun. There's a little bit more realist. No, I can't even say that. More, I don't know, action going on. I like what will probably end up being the one location premise of Flight Risk, with it all taking place on a little puddle jumper plane. Like, that's cool in the hands of somebody. And like Mel Gibson, great director, but like, I don't know what is going on with that. But none of which really piqued my interest. I was kind of laughing at both, but.
And just in case, the official synopsis really wants you to see it. It says, in this high-stakes suspense thriller, Academy Award nominee Mark Wahlberg plays a pilot transporting an air marshal, played by Michelle Dockery, accompanying a fugitive, played by Topher Grace, to trial. As they cross the Alaskan wilderness, tensions soar and trust is tested, and not everyone on board is who they seem. I like how they just signal that there's a twist of some kind in the synopsis. It opens on October 18th, the same weekend as Smile 2. So good luck at the box office, because I think Smile 2 is going to win that.
So Flight Risk is going to theaters?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're risking it. It's happening. You're like, why? And I forgot to say that The Union hits Netflix on August 16th, and it will probably be the #1 movie on Netflix for 2 weeks, and then you'll forget about it.
Never hear about it again.
You'll never hear about it again. But good on Halle Berry and Mark Wahlberg making that money. So there's that.
On the note of Netflix top 10s, did you see the little blurb that Dracula Untold from 10 years ago has crept its way up there?
I saw that. There's all these really weird movies that, like,
I don't know about you. I have a soft spot for that movie. Maybe
I remember thinking it was entertaining.
Yeah, I've gone back to it over the years too. Like, it's a shame that it didn't kickstart that dark universe, but I always thought it was pretty interesting, fun vampire movie, very different from your conventional Dracula movie. So yeah, I don't know how I'd think about it now, but I've always liked Luke Evans too. So
yeah, he's a great actor.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we're on to because we were recording on a Friday, we can't do box office predictions for A Quiet Place Day 1 because it'll open after this episode comes out. But good news, it's already made $6.8 million in previews, which indicates that it's gonna have a big opening weekend. And it's also a slim hour and 39 minutes. So more movies should do that, especially horror movies. But we do get to predict MaXXXine because that opens on July. That opens on July 5th. I need to figure out when I have a screening for it on July 1st.
Okay.
And I'm either going to go with my brother, unless he doesn't want to go, then I'll just maybe go alone, because that's the only time I can probably see it, because like 4th of July weekend, I'm not going to have time to go to the movies.
No.
It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
But I need and want to see this movie really bad. And also, on the other note, I just got my invite for the Long Legs preview screening.
Oh, man. I'm so jealous of you.
So I'm excited for that, too. That's all happening within the next week or so. So yay.
So I don't know about you, but MaXXXine completely crept up on me. I think I was living in some alternate universe where I thought this movie was coming out in like October, November for some reason. And then Cam tells me when we're at the Bike Riders earlier in the week that MaXXXine's July 5th, like a week from now. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. And remember we waited because I feel like we waited so long for a trailer or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And then now it just kind of took off. I'm going to tell you this right now. This is going to be a hard one to predict because on the one hand, X and Pearl were more like cult movies that they made a profit because they had small budgets, but they weren't like huge box office hits. For instance, X opened to $4.2 million, made $11 million domestically and $14.7 million worldwide, but it had a really small, school budget. And it actually did really well when it came out for home viewing too. Pearl, I believe, improved on that a little bit. Just want to make sure. No, actually had a lower opening weekend, $3.1 million. It made $9.8 million worldwide. But they're saying the difference here is that they said awareness for MaXXXine it appears that it's expanding beyond the people that are familiar with those two movies, and that and they went all out with a big Hollywood premiere for it. It was a huge Hollywood premiere for a movie like this, and for a film that is the tail end of a trilogy that had two entries that were just basically low budget horror movies.
Yeah.
That a lot of people are saying that they know people that want to see it that didn't even see the first two movies.
I suppose the really cast lends to that.
Yeah, and they're unaware that it's even part of a trilogy. I the reviews for the movie are great so far. I believe it has a 90% Rotten Tomatoes so far. It might have dropped like a little bit from that, but it was pretty decently high when last time I looked.
Funny, IGN gave it like a 5 out of 10, which I thought was surprising.
I saw
was
that.
Like, what is that all about?
There's certain reviews like that made me go like, oh well.
But I don't really trust. Yeah, I mean, I'm with them when they're on, but sometimes places like that will give a poor review to something I love, so I don't really take it with a grain of salt. But I have heard some divisive stuff, but for the most part, it seems like people are really enjoying it. I feel like I'm gonna like it regardless. I'm a huge fan of both the prior entries, neither of which I'm gonna bother rewatching because I think I've seen them 3 times a piece in just the 2-3 years. So I'm
wow, you got those in, dude.
Yeah, I got them in with myself in theaters, with Cam, with friends afterwards. Yeah. So I'm very ready for MaXXXine to say the least.
So 89% right now, Rotten Tomatoes, 38 reviews counted. That's really good.
That is great.
Confidence in opening on the 4th of July weekend. That's a lot of confidence too.
Yep.
Tracking has it as low as 7 million, as high as 12, which would be a huge increase from the openings of the other two. I kind of get a sense of that awareness too, that it seems like more people are, and maybe because it maybe feels like it feels they're promoting it almost like it's standalone rather than connected to two prior entries. Like they know fans know that already, and they're probably like, okay, they can sell it as its own standalone entry to people who aren't familiar with it. So I see that as I want to shoot for the stars with it.
Yeah, I know where I'm going, but I'll let you do the honors of going first because I have my number in my head.
All right. I won't go completely high end. I'll go 11.5.
Nice. Okay, I'm going 10.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I don't know. I think you're right about.
I don't even think the budget's that huge either. So any of these openings would be
good for it.
Pretty good. Yeah.
I'm just thinking I can imagine the weekend is coming out, deterring audience members with it being 4th of July. We got to know how big a deal that is down there. It's our Independence weekend this weekend too. We're July the 1st. I don't really know how our box office looks like here in Canada on weekends like that. It is a big deal for Canada Day, but I know that 4th of July goes hard in the States, and a lot of people will be out doing other things instead of cramming into a dark theater on what looks to be a nice weekend. So that is kind of why I'm going lower, but that's still above the minimum. So either way, good little $1.5 million gap.
What is the Canadian holiday on July 1st? I'm really asking because I just got a message from my editor at MovieWeb, and he's like, "Hey, your payments are going to be delayed by a day because July 1st is a Canadian holiday." Yeah,
it's just Canada Day.
It's Canada Day.
Yeah.
So it's your 4th of July, basically.
Exactly. Yeah, when we didn't have as big a revolt against the British as the Americans did back in 1776, but we were a British colony that just more amicably separated. So that was on July the 1st, 1867, I think. So yeah, it's our Independence Day, but not as much of a contentious history with ours.
Okay. Well, guys, you also get a little history lesson on the podcast as well.
Exactly.
At the end of it.
No one outside of Canada knows it, but yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, even though, I guess the 4th of July for us falling on the Thursday gets the whole like barbecue beach day out of the way. So like the Friday is more open. But if you use 4th of July to drink a lot, like a lot of people do, you might be too hungover to go experience the movie on the Friday. I don't know. But I mean, it does give an opportunity to play out during a long weekend. So hopefully it does well. And hopefully we'll have something nice to report when it does. Box office is back in a big way. I mean, Inside Out 2 is making stupid money.
That's right.
We're the first to admit that we were out of touch with what that was going to do. $155 million opening, $101 million second weekend.
Did we predict it?
Oh, we did. I said 90 or a little over 90 or something like that. And I think I did. And we were really wrong. Because that's what it opened to, was 155. So
I went 87, you went 90. We were way off. Oh my god.
Happy to be wrong about it. I mean, it's
good for it. Pixar needed a win.
Yeah, but you know what that's going to make them do? They're going to double down on just making like sequels to their.
Yeah,
that's the lesson. That's the lesson. That's the lesson to learn. But yeah, it's made $833 million worldwide so far. It's going to be $1 billion movie for sure.
Wow.
So yeah, well, at least the summer is rebounding from that very not so great early start.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And well, that's it. We actually blew through that pretty fast.
Yeah,
all
we
things
did.
considered. All things considered.
Well done,
that's the news for you today. Episode 181 of Back to the Blockbuster. As always, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Good Pods. But you should also find us on the Playlist Studio app because they are a podcast network and they're very good to us. They just released our Batman episode right now. I just saw it come out on my phone.
Wonderful.
As you guys listen to it, don't get too mad at. I think you might get mad at both of us, but you might be mad at Jackson especially. But yeah, a great listen that I hope you guys enjoy. And then we have more anniversary episodes coming your way very soon, and we're happy that we got this news episode out for you as well. You'll be hearing it a little earlier than normal. Want to get it out before the 4th of July holiday. Because releasing it on 4th of July would just be silly. And in addition to that, you can also find us on YouTube. You should subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't, so you're going to be able to find all of our episodes where you can look at our handsome mugs, but also find other short form content that will be added to the page as well. As always, Jackson, thank you for recording on an off day, a Friday.
Happy to. Ready to go into the weekend here.
Yeah, you're actually off. I have to go into work, and then I start my weekend. And then I'm going to turn off all my emails and everything until next week.
As you should.
So, yeah, as always, been always a pleasure talking movies and the news with you.
Likewise, my friend. All right. See you guys.